James Snell is a core contributor, a TSC member, former IBMer, and is now open source architect at nearForm. So please welcome James.
Hello. So a couple months ago, they came to me and were like, "Okay, we want you to do a keynote. And we want to talk to you about the technical roadmap for Node.js." And I was pretty much like this. I only write the code. I don't think there's much of us that actually know what is happening in core. By design, Node does not have a technical roadmap. And you got to stop and think about how significant and amazing this particular fact is. Node supports an ecosystem of millions of developers. There are companies that are building their entire businesses on the Node platform, doing billions of dollars of transactions. And they're doing this on a technical project that says, you know what happens in core is whatever the people who are contributing to core happens. Whatever they want to work on. Those are the things that we prioritize. We're not looking out a year from now saying we want to be here. We want these features. The 10 release, the Node 10 release in April. These are the things that are going to be in it, right? We're not doing that. We're saying what are the pain points that this user has right now, right? And then we want to go to that user and say, help us fix this problem, right? We work on it, we fix that problem, and we address it. And maybe as a part of that, new features land in core. Maybe they don't, right? So everything is based on the priorities of the Node developers and the Node users. Think of Node releases as trains leaving the station. This is an absolutely perfect model, right? That train's going to leave the station at a particular time. Node 9 is going to be released on, I'm looking at October 31st right now. We're going to have the first release candidate next week. Whatever happens to get to land by then, that's what's going to make up Node 9. So anybody that's looking at it, say, what's there? Well, you look at master. See what's in master. Those are the things that are going to be part of Node 9. What's in 10? Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right? We rarely plan this out. The exceptions to planning this out are things like major V8 updates. So we are looking at, where we're going to land V8 6.0 or 6.1. We're trying to decide if we're going to get 6.2 in Node 8 in time for it to go LTS later this month. But it's rarely planned out, and very, very few of us can actually say, that these are the things that are going to happen. It's going back to the GIF. We have no idea, right? But there are themes that we can look at. There are things that we can take, we can see, and we can kind of project based on what we know is important to people. I've been having a number of conversations with folks over the past few weeks. I've just been kind of going out and talking to companies that are building their businesses on Node. And I've been asking them, what is the most important thing for you with Node right now? What's your pain point? What's the thing that is the most difficult for you? And every single one of them said the exact same thing. Debugging and instrumentation. They need to have better insight into what's happening within Node. So it's like, okay, great. Are we actually addressing that problem? Well, it turns out that lots of users have the same issue, and lots of those users are contributing to core. So yes, we actually have efforts underway to solve these problems and address these problems. And we can look at this and say, okay, yeah, there's our roadmap. We actually have things that are happening. So we have a number of things. I'm going to go through these. They told me originally I had 20 minutes to get through this. I have 10 minutes to get through this now, so it's going to be a summary of these things. I won't be able to go into detail on a lot of it. But let's talk about the runtime and postmortem debugging. Some of the specific initiatives that are happening. Some of them are, have been going on for a while, and we're moving them forward. Other ones are just still evolving and coming along. Node report. It's a small utility, human-readable diagnostic summary. So you need to know what's basically happening when your Node application crashes. Node report is a separate application installable from the NPM registry that will give you some basic information about your process. Fantastic. Why is it important? It's seeking to standardize that postmortem diagnostics, so you're not having to go with multiple different vendors that are doing things differently. We're looking to standardize this thing and work with those vendors on defining what that standard is. Currently, it's a separate application. the goal is to actually bundle it into core, so these things are just there and available. Another one of these is in Node heap dump. Right now, you install it separately and use it separately, right? It's pretty much just this, require heap dump, write snapshot. What it does is it dumps a report of your V8 heap. Why is that important? Again, we're looking to standardize these things and make it easier to get this information you need from your process, right? And again, we want to try to include this as a core module. Right now, we're working on getting this to be a foundation project, right? Node inspect, another step in this process. We landed Node inspect, I think earlier this year. It came out of experimental. It's there. It's built into Node. It's a command line debugger that uses the exact same protocol as the Chrome DevTools. It's just available on the command line, built into core. Again, it's all a part of solving small problems that everyone has in a very incremental way, right? Profiling and tracing. This is another important one. I'm talking about better instrumentation in core so we can get those better insights. Work is underway, thanks to Google's V8 team, to get trace events enabled. We do have the profiling process, which is compatible with the DevTools stuff. So you can use the same debugging tools on the for your client-side JavaScript as your server side. And we have things like async hooks. Async hooks is a relatively new API that is designed entirely to give you insight into the event loop. When is a resource created? When is it about to call a callback? When is it done calling it a callback? When has that resource been destroyed? When has a promise function been resolved? These are things that async hooks are intended to give you insight. It's a very low-level primitive within core, but it's extremely powerful what it allows you to do. Current efforts are to improve that. In the roadmap, what I would see for Node 9, Node 10 is for that to continue to be stable and to come out of experimentation. Perf hooks is another one that landed recently as experimental. Basically, it's just an implementation of the same performance metrics API that exists in browsers you can now use in core. So you have mark and measure, and we're working on expanding this out to give you insights into node-specific performance metrics. One of those node-specific metrics is performance timerify. What this will do is give you a wrapped function that gives you high-precision timing of the execution of that function. And anything, so you can, if you have asynchronous operations, you can kind of layer these things and get a sense of how your operations are actually doing. Util promisify. Not everyone loves promises. Some people absolutely love them. We're working on getting promise support into core. It'll be just part of the API. Util promisify was the first step. The second step is a fully promisify Node Core API. We're starting with FS, been working on this now. These are not wrapped functions. We're not wrapping the existing async APIs in a promise. These are new implementations of these APIs that have full promise support. So if you want to use async await, you'll get that. And this is going to be done across the Node API where it makes sense. ES6 modules. These things, it works now. It's not perfect. I know there's people that, are kind of, have opinions about, how this is implemented. But it's there, right? And what I expect for Node 9 and Node 10 is that this support will continue to evolve. We need community feedback on how this happens. Better error handling. I'm going a little faster because the clock is ticking down. Better error handling. We're assigning codes to every error in Node. These are static codes that will not change. So the goal is no more, munging of the error message to try to figure out what's happening, right? You could look at the static code and get an idea of what actually failed. Part of this is also actually making the error messages actually useful in core. There's quite a few that are just, hey, something happened. Thanks. Appreciate that. So we're getting the error codes. We're working on better handling of unhandled rejections. Some people are like, well, yeah, hey, it's a promise. Just let it throw, and the VM will take care of that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. A lot of unhandled rejections are not intentional. They're programming errors, and they just don't go noticed. We have to provide useful information for this. We have developers that tell us we cannot use this model unless we have that. We have to solve this problem. So we're working on solving that. Workers. So anybody use cluster module? Yes, cluster module sucks. It's a bad API, right? Workers is a standard API for doing this in a much better way. One of the core contributors, Anna Henningsen, I think she'll be talking here a little bit later on, has been working on this. It's absolutely a fantastic piece of work. It's a long way to go, but this is something that I'm super excited to see being done. There are lots of other things happening. HTTP2 is landed. We're very close to getting it out of experimental. We have an open PR right now that as soon as we land it, we will be passing all of the Express library tests 100%. So Express using HTTP2 in core without changes to any of those tests to get it to work, which is fantastic. It's an amazing, amazing effort that's been going on there. NAPI, continuing to work with Node Chakra Core, so the Microsoft engine, fantastic bit of work happening there. Improvements to test infrastructure and conformance to web platform APIs. These are the themes that people have been working on. This is not a set roadmap. This is just a survey of all the stuff that's happening in core, all the things people think are important, so they felt, they felt empowered to go off and do these things, right? That is our roadmap, right? The roadmap is, what is your pain point? Now come help us solve it, right? That's how we want to approach this. So come join us. We have the Code and Learn at the Collaborative Summit tomorrow. The Code and Learn is, we'll take you through the steps of how do you actually contribute to core? How do you start this process of helping us flesh out this roadmap and actually get these issues solved?